Hello, guys, and welcome to day 2 of our Navigating Uncertainty Virtual Summit. I am so excited today about our guest who's going to be coming to us and talking to us about how to navigate teams remotely. Now, with all of disruption, for many of you, you may have been working out of a brick and mortar, just as our guest has today. She was working out of brick and mortar, but now she has found a way to navigate her teams remotely, and she's doing it successfully. Her company is flourishing, and so I am just so excited to introduce our first guest, Samantha Renz. Samantha, welcome, and can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be a part of this. This is really cool, what you're doing here. I am Samantha Renz of Evolving Texas. We're a civil engineering and planning firm in Fort Worth. We do mostly private land development and all types of civil engineering infrastructure.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you being here. And so just to get this conversation kicked off before we get into everything, what has been your personal experience with COVID-19 up until this point?
Personally, this social distancing time has been probably the most difficult for me. I jokingly said the coronavirus won't get me, but social distantitis might. But I've really used the time to really recenter and just refocus. And so it has been actually a good time for me. I think I probably haven't experienced a lot of the fear and overwhelm that some people have. I am making sure that I'm staying abreast, though, and aware and vigilant for sure.
Very good. And what's been your experience? And now this is from the external. What have you noticed in the marketplace with other businesses and some of the things that they're going through right now?
Well, mainly outside of my company, I would say I've seen a lot of fear and a lot of people reacting, a lot of distraction, fear of layoffs, of work coming in and such. But being that we offer professional services, we're able to transition rather smoothly to a work from home environment. So we're very blessed in that.
Very cool. So as mentioned at the beginning of the interview, we had discussed that you were a brick and mortar. Like that is where you do business normally, is through a brick and mortar. But since the changes with COVID, how have you transitioned your team remotely? What has been that experience for you guys up to this point? And how many people are you leading?
I have, with myself, there's 17 of us that is full-time employees and contractors, so leading 16. The transition for us has been pretty smooth. We made the decision early on when this first came out to go ahead and transition our teams to work from home. So they had a few days to really get their things together and bring them home. We are definitely adjusting our business model. And it's something we've been discussing doing and wanted to do for some time to allow people to work from home. So this has given us the opportunity to really refine that, work out the bugs, figure out what works and doesn't work. And, this could possibly be our new norm. I'd love to free up time for my team members to spend more time with their family. And it also is increasing productivity. The majority of my team has really stepped up, and I'm seeing more output and better connection and flow between all of us.
Very good. That's very good, just to know how y'all are doing that right now, because a lot of people, when you think about your brick and mortar and things are just going down, then you just think, oh, you get that fear and that of uncertainty of what's next. And so it's really cool how you guys have made that transition. And it sounds like you've made it pretty seamlessly. So what have been some of the things that has made that a seamless transition for you guys? And what are some tips that you would offer other leaders who are facing the same scenario?
Okay. Well, what has made that seamless? I think communication is the key. Staying connected, not panicking, just taking the time to really gather what we need, move it to our homes, giving everybody the time and opportunity and resources to set up properly with everything that they need, and being there and listening to them. I think that's what has made it seamless. The tips that I would give, I think as leaders, it's our role to be aware, to be alert, and to be resilient to change. I would say, for me, I'm continually educating myself, and that way I can pass that knowledge along. I hear a lot of people, my team, that will send out messages of things that they hear or read on social media. And because, I'm staying aware in the places that matter with the CDC and WHO and places that are giving real information, I can usually calm those fears and say, well, this is what that means, and this is what's happening, and this is really where we're at. So I would say just being aware, being alert, educating yourself are very important. I think that we need to continually communicate with our team. That way we can mitigate that fear, find ways for team camaraderie, and definitely using our technology. I think it all really comes down to just staying connected and communicating well.
How are you keeping that team camaraderie up with your group of team members?
We are doing it on Zoom right now. We also we use a lot of different technologies to communicate: Slack for instant messaging, of course, email, our Asana stuff. But we are continuing to do our daily huddles, things like that, where we're engaging and just talking right now. My team has a lot of fun. Normally, like in the office, we play basketball and things like that. So that's not something we can do right now, but definitely reporting our goals when we're meeting them, when we're not, giving kudos, and we kind of tend to joke around on our Slack and stuff, and give each other a hard time about things. So we're continuing to do that daily.
So what does a day look like for you guys, just on a daily basis? What is the routine that you have established for you and your team to keep things rolling from a consistent standpoint?
Right. So when we're in the office, like I said, we normally do a morning huddle, and we start our day with gratitude, and we tell what we're working on for the day, and then find out if anyone needs help with anything. We are doing that virtually now. We have a scheduled Zoom meeting Monday through Friday every morning at 8:30. So first thing we jump on, and we just go through each person, tells what they're grateful for, what they're working on, and then I find out at the end if anybody needs help with anything. We have our regular scheduled project management meetings. So I have our leadership team that jumps on, and we go through all of our projects and find out what needs to happen so that we can delegate all the tasks. And we're using, like I said, the multiple tools to stay connected. We use Harvest as our time tracking tool. We use Asana as our task management tool. And and one of the things that is cool is you can use a program called Zapier that will help you connect all your different apps together. And through that, we know we have where we can start our timers in Harvest through the Asana task. And we can also then, when we're making comments, that those will automatically copy to Slack in the instant messenger. So one form of communication, typing it in, it can go to 3 different places. That way, when the different team members are using those different tools, whichever one is their favorite, they can find it there. So they're not having to go to multiple places to look for the information. We also use Bluebeam, which has a follow me tool. And you can, when you're editing PDFs, looking at documents and such, you can say, hey, follow me. And that way, when you're talking on the phone or whatever, you can just be in the same document, or you can be instant messaging about it and see exactly what the other person is doing. So our new normal is as close to normal as possible when we're in the brick and mortar. So really just staying engaged and continually using our tools.
That's great. Just for clarity, is that blue beam with an M or blue bean with an N?
It's blue beam with an M.
Okay. And the programs or technology tools that you have mentioned, are those paid or are those free? What does those look like? Because you mentioned Harvest, that is time tracker. I'm sure that one you have to pay for, but then you have Asana and then Bluebeam, and then you said Zapier, I believe it was. Then are those free or is that something that's a cost?
There's a cost. Slack, there's a cost, for the team. It's not a high cost. It's a very low cost. Asana, you have a cost. You can add users or members that can view and things like that, but not necessarily create tasks. That could be free to keep costs down. Harvest is a software that we pay for our time tracking. And I think you pay per, like if you have 1 to 15, it's a price, and it goes up as your, or price comes down, actually, probably as your team members go up per person. What else do we use? Bluebeam. Bluebeam has a free version. It's called Bluebeam Review, or Bluebeam View. And the great thing about Bluebeam is that it has a cloud with it. And so you have a studio. And so if you have the Bluebeam View, maybe I may have the paid version. You have the free version. I can still upload the things into the studio. You can still, work with me on that. We can see the same document, look at the same document, make edits, talk about it, whatever. But it stores it in the cloud so that you can access it anywhere. If you're online, if you have internet access, you can access it. You don't have to have this software on your computer. So it's a really great program.
What's really cool about what you're explaining is it sounds like you have innovated a new way of doing business with your team. And if this is something that you choose to continue to do in shifting your business model, sounds like this may be something that could save you money over time, because if you're able to transition your team fully to a remote business model versus a brick and mortar, then this seems like this may be something that may not be a bad thing for you guys. It may be a blessing in disguise. What are your thoughts there?
I agree with you 100%. I feel like, like I said earlier, that this is a great time for us to figure it out. I feel like that is the case, across the nation, that, innovation right now, it's time for it, and it's happening, and people are figuring out ways to do things better, more effectively, more efficiently, and we are definitely doing that.
Absolutely. And what I would say right now, and taken from what you have just told us, is that this is not about a time to look at these moments of just uncertainty and look at it as fear and let fear stop you. This will be that time to innovate, to see what other opportunities are available for you and your team, and then to use technology as an asset to navigate the changes, and then also to communicate with your team members from a standpoint of what's going on, like what is actually going on. Because a lot of times as leaders, you try to, a lot of leaders don't really let their team members in the loop, and then they create their own story because they don't know, and then it makes them feel a certain level of fear. But it sounds like you have communicated to your team members what the game plan is, how y'all are moving forward, and y'all are consistently doing that and navigating the changes as they come up. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. And it's one of the things that we do in that morning huddle as well. Is after we all go around and everybody talks, I do talk to my team, ask them what they need, encourage them, and just, pretty much give them my vision for whether it's the day, the week, the year. They always know where we're headed.
That's great. And one of the things that I want to point out in you and that I've noticed in your leadership is that you are really a servant leader who leads from the heart. Many people say that, but they don't really walk their talk in that. And through good times, bad time, you have really shown that. And a lot of leaders who are leading corporations and enterprises, they feel like that it's weak to lead with your heart, be authentic and be real. What has been your experience, and like how are you able to stay real and connected about that?
I don't know any other way to be. um, Thank you for saying that. I truly believe that my superpower is authenticity and vulnerability. And I feel like the more that I've shown that to my team, the more they respect me and the more that they show up the same way. So I feel like it has built a lot of trust between us all, a lot of loyalty, and, we are family, I think, because of that.
And that's great. And I think that when you establish that from the jump, then when we go through times like this with COVID and there's some changes that disrupt the norm, then there's a culture of authenticity, trust, loyalty, and all of the things that's necessary to navigate uncertainty. So that is very great that you have already established that type of culture. And we recommend that as leaders that you too do the same. If you haven't done it, go ahead and make this that opportunity to create that type of culture of authenticity, of loyalty, trust, all of that. Because if people know that you care, then they're willing to ride the long-term train with you and navigate the changes and the shifts without too much push, or what would be the word, without too much resistance. They're willing to ride with you. So Samantha, what would be one word of an encouragement or sentence or statement that you would encourage leaders about during this time?
I would say to stay positive, and keep as much normalcy as possible, staying connected, and use technology to its fullest capacity. I think one thing that's important to remember too is if you need help, ask for it. You're not alone in this. There are other people doing the same things that you're doing, and maybe they've already encountered the same issue, the same struggle, the same problem. So reach out, ask for help, and just remember you're not alone.
That's good. Reach out, ask for help. And can I get some clarity on use technology to its fullest capacity? What are you meaning there?
Well, I think that, we all have, say, Zoom, or we may have, Slack or whatever, but not knowing all of the different things that it can do, limits you a little bit. So if you take a little bit of time, go to the help section or the about or whatever, or go on YouTube and look for videos, about that program and learn about it. Just take, 15 minutes a day to learn something and learn about the tools that you're using. It's amazing the things that some of these tools will do that you never knew they would do.
That is very well received. As I am the one who fall in that category, who is not using technology to its fullest capacity. So I am willing and ready to take you on at that challenge. So thank you for sharing that tip and word of encouragement. Our heart during this summit is to give back. And so what would be some free resources that you would recommend to our listeners today?
The only one I can think of that I'm sure is free is the one I mentioned earlier, Zapier.com. That's Zapier.com. And I'll send you a link for your resource sheet. And what that does, it looks at probably over 2,000 different apps, potential apps that you have, meaning Outlook, your Asana, Slack, whatever it is that you're using. And it will tell you how they can integrate and how they can work together. And not only does it show you, all you have to do is check the boxes, tell it, that these are the things you want that to do, and it sets it up for you or takes you through the steps to do so.
Perfect. I love that. And you'll be providing a link for us with that, and we'll provide that in the resource document that'll be going along with this virtual summit. So guys, you don't have to remember that. We will have it uploaded for you. And Samantha, we are in quarantine. Not by choice. And so what would be 3 fun activities that you would recommend for us to stay busy and just enjoy the moment?
Well, personally, I love to dance around my living room and my kitchen in my socks. I have my shoes on right now. And I'm perfecting my moonwalk.
Fun times.
Singing, if you play an instrument, take some extra time and play. And if you ever wanted to learn, it's a good time to learn something. And then definitely getting some fresh air. Go outside when you can.
Those are some great tips. That's it. You're perfecting your moonwalk, and then we get some music lessons going. And I agree. Get your body moving. Don't just sit there, work all day, and not do anything that's going to get those happy hormones going, and where you're feeling happy on the inside. So get moving. I love those tips. So Samantha, if people have questions for you, want to know a little bit more, how can they connect with you further?
Just shoot me an email. It's samantha@evolvingtexas.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, Samantha, thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and tips about navigating teams remotely. You are definitely a leader who is showing up and doing your thing every day, and it's an inspiration to us. And guys, if y'all have questions, please reach out. She has made herself available for that. Again, I will put that free resource in our resource guide. And then be sure to check in with us daily, because we will be premiering a live topical video every day for the next 2 weeks at 7 p.m. If this has been beneficial to you, like our page, share it with a friend or a family member, and guys, most importantly, don't worry. We will get through this. Instead of worrying, the word says, don't worry, but instead pray about everything. Until next time, you all have a blessed week. Bye-bye.